Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who is joining us here this evening. As we said in the title of our program tonight, earthquakes. Earthquakes all over the place. We start off tonight with an earthquake that happened yesterday just south of New Zealand. There is a long 23-mile long, actually not miles, but 23-kilometer long island. It's 23 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide. It's called Macquarie Island. We had a 6.7 magnitude earthquake at that location yesterday morning. That earthquake just happened to be on the Antarctic Ridge. The Antarctic Ridge is south of New Zealand, covering a wide expanse of the world at literally the south part of the world, at what I would call the bottom of the world. And I'm not saying that literally. This is the southern part of the world. The only thing that lives full-time on Macquarie Island are seals, penguins, and other seabirds. That's the only thing that lives there. Back in 1933, rabbits and rats were introduced to Macquarie Island. They overtook the island, and much of the other sea life and birds left. In 1967, the Australian government started regulating that, and earlier in the latter part of the 20th century, the rats and the rabbits were eliminated from Macquarie Island. Since then, the sea life has returned. The seals, the penguins, and other seabirds have returned. Presently today, this month, in the month of March 2024, the Australian government has a population there of about 6 people. Those 6 people take care of the power generators that are there. Great big huge caterpillar generators are housed in the southern part of Macquarie Island. They have residences of scientists that take care of the science of the island. Presently this month they are counting sea life. They're counting the birds on the island, the seals on the island. Okay? Up until now, I believe as of yesterday, they've counted like 2,000 seals. That's amazing. The seals have made a full comeback on Macquarie Island. But this is where a 6.7 magnitude earthquake happened. It disrupted life as we know it, or as those people down, the scientists on Macquarie Island know it, because that was a very strong earthquake. 6.0 to 6.9 are considered to be very strong earthquakes. This was the upper side of a 6, a very, very strong earthquake. Disrupted things for a while. Since then, only small and minor earthquakes have been happening. Actually, moderate earthquakes also been happening around Macquarie Island. USGS is still not showing any earthquakes whatsoever on New Zealand, both the North and the South Island, but there are earthquakes there. Most of those are 2.5, 2.7, some 2.3s, and also some 3.5, 3.7s, and 3.8 earthquakes on the North Island of New Zealand. North of there, I want to talk about what's going on. Over in the South Fiji region, the Southeast Fiji region, there happens to be a 4.6 moderate earthquake there, mid-range 4.6. But what makes this earthquake most unique is it is 576 kilometers deep. That is a very deep earthquake. Now, what have we said about deep earthquakes? Deep earthquakes propagate stronger, more shallower quakes. Since this is a 4.6, we can expect to see at least a 5.6 to 5.7 earthquake sometime in the next 72 hours to 10 days. If it doesn't happen in the next 3 days, it could happen in the next 7 to 10 days, but probably no longer than that. Now, there are earthquakes all over the southern hemisphere. Over in the Loyalty Islands, over in the Solomon Islands, and over in Papua New Guinea. USGS is not talking about that. The United States Geological Survey is only reporting 2 earthquakes. One larger one over off the southwestern shores of Sumatra, off of Bengkulu, Indonesia. A large 5.2 earthquake hit there, and that hit on the southern Indonesia fault zone. The southern Indonesia fault zone that runs just south of Java all the way up north into the Indian Ocean. So that area is completely full of fault. I mean, it's an entire fault zone from the Andaman Islands all the way down south of Java. Also, just off the shore, the southwestern shore of Sumatra, Indonesia, we have another 5.0 earthquake. That occurred just southwest of Pagar, Alam, Indonesia, just offshore of South Sumatra, Indonesia. Now, going over into the central part of Sumatra, the center part of that island that runs from the northeast or southeast to northwest. It's an elongated island. Just over there in the center western part of Sumatra, we have a volcano, Merapi volcano. It's been lobbing great big huge molten lava rocks out of the summit of that volcano. Okay? Also, molten lava is pouring out of that volcano. It's been an almost absolute continuance of volcanic action out of Merapi for probably a good month or so. Merapi is a very strong volcano, and it is very active in that region. Merapi volcano over in Sumatra. Now, that's not all, folks, but there's more. Okay? Over in Mexico, southeast of Mexico City, Popocatépetl volcano is also erupting. It's been erupting off and on for months now. I want to go over to Colombia now, northern Colombia, actually northwestern Colombia. Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia has been erupting. It's off and on, literally at least once or twice a month that it's been happening. Okay? There is volcanic ash observations coming from that volcano. We go over north of there to Guatemala. Fuego volcano, the volcano of fire. Fuego volcano has also been erupting. We drop down now south of Peru, just north of Chile, near Tacna, Chile. I'm sorry, Tacna, Peru. If we go over to Tarapaca, Chile, that's northern Chile. Just on the other side of the border of Chile is Tacna, Peru. Over near Tacna, Peru, just miles or kilometers away, is another volcano called Sabancaya. Sabancaya has been shrouded in clouds. However, they do believe that Sabancaya has been erupting. Okay? We go north of there over to Ecuador. Reventador and there's another one too. Reventador and I can't remember the name of that volcano now. There's two twin volcanoes nearly side by side over there in Ecuador. Both of those have also been erupting. Okay? We talked about Merapi, we talked about Popocatépetl. Nevado Ruiz, Sabancaya, Fuego. We want to talk about Semeru over on the island of Java. Semeru has also been erupting up to 15,000 feet above sea level. 15,000 feet above sea level, flight level 150. Let's see. I want to just check here. Now, some people have been asking about Chile. Right now in Chile, we have no volcanic eruptions whatsoever. However, there are many volcanoes over on, or in the island, or not island, in the country of Chile, all up and down Chile. I want to, in a few minutes, go over and take a look at earthquakes that have happened mostly in northern Chile today. Those earthquakes are right next to volcanoes, literally, okay? Volcanic cones and craters all throughout that area, right next to these earthquakes. So I believe the earthquakes that have happened in Chile today are an example of magma intrusion near those volcanoes that are there. We go back over to Indonesia, into the, central Indonesia, Halmahera, Indonesia. Dukono volcano. Dukono volcano, every day that I have ever been on this program, Dukono volcano has been erupting, either up to 7,000 foot above the top of the volcano, or today up to 8,000 feet above the volcano today. Flight level 080. Sakurajima in Japan. There's been no definitive satellite imagery to say that Sakurajima in Honshu, Japan has been erupting. Okay, I want to tell you that. Suwanizajima. South of Japan, there's an island with a volcano called Suwanizajima. Suwanizajima has also been erupting. Flight level 070, 7,000 feet high. That is pretty typical, between 7 and 10,000 feet at Suwanizajima, and today 7,000 feet high at Suwanizajima. Yesterday over at Sakurajima, we told you today there's no identifiable satellite photography showing an eruption at Sakurajima volcano, but yesterday Sakurajima erupted up to 7,000 feet high. We have had eruptions up to 24,000 feet high at Sakurajima in Japan. I want to talk also about another volcano over Luotolo, Indonesia. Luotolo volcano is erupting. A 7,000 foot eruption yesterday, and it's still puffing. The same thing with Sabancaya in Peru. It's occasional puffing of volcanic gases out of that volcano. This is hydrosulfide acid and sulfur dioxide gases coming from the volcano. That's identifiable. We talked about Dukono. Let's see. I want to make sure we've covered the volcanoes now. Yes, I think we've covered the volcanoes. Okay, so that's what has happened so far down in the southern hemisphere. Okay, there's been no activity whatsoever up at Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. We have 4 volcanoes there. None of those volcanoes have been erupting at all. Now, before we leave the southern hemisphere, I want to talk about what's been happening over off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines. We still have at least 4 earthquakes that have occurred over off the northeast coast of Mindanao, Philippines. Why? Because several months ago, we had a major earthquake there. Between 9.0 and 10.0 earthquake, I believe it was probably a 9.0, 9.4 magnitude earthquake. It is still generating aftershocks today. Okay? This is going to be ongoing for a very long time over there. Over off the southwestern shore of Mindanao, Philippines, near Malam, Philippines, just offshore southwest of Malam, Philippines, we have a 4.7 moderate earthquake there. That earthquake was 19 kilometers deep. Over off the southern part of Mindanao, Philippines, Culman, Philippines, we have a 4.6 moderate earthquake there. This earthquake was fairly shallow at 190 kilometers deep off the southern coast. Actually, it's on the southern coast of Mindanao, Philippines. Okay, so we've covered the southern hemisphere. Now I want to go over to Chile. China. I want to go over to China. Over near Icol, China, where we had a large earthquake this past week. Today, we've had a 4.5 earthquake there. But northwest of there, and this was probably 15 miles northwest of there, we had a 5.3 earthquake. This earthquake was 29 kilometers northwest of Cholpon-Ata, Kyrgyzstan. Cholpon-Ata, Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan belongs to Russia. It's a Russia-Chinese border area. It's where Russian spacecraft have landed in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan in the past. Here we've had a 5.3 earthquake there. So that area in the mountainous regions of southern Russia and southern China, we continue to get hammered there. USGS is not talking about any earthquakes in Iran and Iraq, but there are earthquakes there. Again, we move over to Turkey and the Syrian border area. There's approximately 65 earthquakes there. USGS is not saying word one about those. The rest of Turkey has been covered in earthquakes, literally. About 20 earthquakes have struck all over central Turkey, over into northwestern Turkey, and the western shores of Turkey today. Most of those earthquakes have been 3.5 to 2.5 in nature. 2.0, 2.9 are considered to be minor earthquakes. Most of those have been minor earthquakes, with every once in a while a 3.5 earthquake, small earthquakes over in Turkey today. We move west over into Greece. Greece and Crete continue to get hit. Also east over to the Turkish border. Just on the western side of the Turkish border are islands. Those islands belong to Greece. The Dokanese Islands is what they call them. Those islands are also getting hit with 1.5, 2.5, 2.7 earthquakes. Around Crete, that area is also getting hit, but Crete just has not gotten any earthquakes over on the island today. But the mainland of Greece has. Probably 20 earthquakes over in Greece today. The largest one is over on the western shores of Greece. There's an island called Ithaca, Ithaki, Greece. Today, a 4.2 earthquake hit there, 10 kilometers deep. Going west over into Italy. Italy's had about 22 earthquakes, a couple earthquakes over in the toe of the boot of Italy, most earthquakes over in the body in the central part of Italy, around Cambria, Italy. Okay, that area is mostly getting minor tremors, 1.2, 1.5, 1.7 tremors. Now, we've had upwards of 50 to 60 tremors there at any one time. What's going on? When we have this amount of earthquakes, swarms and swarms every day of earthquakes over in central Italy, that usually is a good sign that we're going to get a larger earthquake, probably a mid-range 5.0, 5.5 earthquake, somewhere between the low fives up to mid-range 5.5 over there in central Italy. Going over into the northern part of Italy, over near the Alps and the resort areas of northwestern Italy, we've had some minor earthquakes and tremors there. France has had its share of small, minor earthquakes there today. Over in the area of Spain and Portugal, they've had only a handful of small, minor earthquakes. That's all that's hitting there. Over in the Canary Islands, if you remember, we had earthquakes over on La Palma Island, which resulted in an earthquake and volcano activity. Cumbre Vieja volcano has also been hit with some earthquakes today. Cumbre Vieja volcano is in the northern part of La Palma, Canary Islands. It's been hit with some earthquakes. They are saying that there is a possibility that that could re-erupt. I don't know whether it will or not, because the magma plume that was supplying Cumbre Vieja volcano when it last erupted has moved south. So I just do not think that the Cumbre Vieja volcano in the Canary Islands is going to erupt again. Okay? Now, one of our mods here, and this is someone I deeply respect, NCWQ Worldwide News and Disasters Explorer, she's put out a message here on the chat. Please stay on topic. Please stay on topic. Okay? Someone was just timed out by one of my mods. I want to put this here in real language, okay? I'm going to put it in real language. Do not mock my mods. Do not mock me or harass any of us. You will be eliminated from this channel, I can promise you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? This person said no one cares. Oh, really? A lot of people do care. A lot of people do care. And we won't tolerate it. Okay? We out and out won't tolerate it. I've just taken that person off of our channel. We will not tolerate harassment. We will not tolerate anything like that. Okay? I want to make that perfectly clear. Okay? Won't tolerate it. Not now, not ever. Anyway, let's go north. I've got a lot of stuff I want to talk about tonight. Nathan Johnson's here in the chat saying Buffalo, New York was 72 degrees today. Oh, look out. Look out. That might be a taste of spring, but there's a huge storm over in the western United States that's going to topple. It's going to topple the snowfall over on the East Coast very soon. Okay? It's coming. You think you have 72 degrees today and the snow's either melted or starting to melt? Guess what? Look out for this next storm. It's going to be a doozy. Okay? Anyway, we've talked about France, we talked about Spain, we talked about the Canary Islands. We've also had a couple of earthquakes over in Scandinavia today. Okay? This is also going to continue to happen. Okay? This is going to continue to happen for a while. Now, something else that NCWQ Worldwide News and Disasters Explorer says, please stay on topic. This chat, folks, this chat is an extension of my home. Please, this chat is an extension of my home, and I need you to respect that. Okay? Stop trolling this channel. I want you to stop harassing my mods and harassing me. Like I said, it will not be tolerated at all. Okay? Frazwell Summer says, I love you from Fraz in England. Thank you so much, Fraz. We appreciate it. Also, my friends and neighbors and loved ones and family, please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. It would be very much appreciated. We're still trying to grow this this channel back to where it was 2 years ago, before we had to start this channel anew, when YouTube and trolls, well, not trolls, YouTube and hackers took down our last channel. We had 25,000 subscribers to this channel. We want to raise this up again. Stephen is here. What is this channel about? This channel is about emergency preparedness. It's about emergencies and disasters, all kinds of emergencies and disasters that run the gamut of what happens or what could happen in our lives. Why do we talk about that? So people will have a good idea of what's happening around them, so they will be able to make decisions about preparedness for them and their families. That's what is so important about this channel. Nobody else does this like we do. Nobody else brings this information to full head except this channel. People talk about earthquakes, or they talk somewhat about preparedness, but they don't fully incorporate what's going on. They do not fully incorporate what's going on. We want people to realize what's going on around you, so that when it comes down to it, you are prepared to handle whatever is thrown at you. Okay? That's what we believe in. That's what we've been doing for now almost 5 years. We've been on YouTube now on April 3rd, it will be 5 years that we've been broadcasting. Okay? So we want to make sure that you're prepared. And in so doing, please subscribe to this program. And when you subscribe to the program, please also click on that little bell icon. That little bell icon will get you notified when we come on the air. When you click on that, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items. Click on the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air. We would appreciate it. Okay? Bacon the Clown 2, please stay on topic of what we're talking about right now. Please. Formenco Dangerous says, I live off-grid, West Virginia. We love that. I know a lot of people that do live off-grid. I have a lot of friends that homestead off-grid, or they're all but off-grid. BM says, how to prep for an earthquake. We've covered that before. Just a few weeks ago here on this channel, we covered how to prepare for an earthquake. If you go back through any of our programs so far that we posted here on YouTube during the past year, anytime we've mentioned preparedness in the headline of the program, you need to see that. If we mention preparedness, we talk about all kinds of preparedness things, including earthquake preparedness, and I know for a fact that we've covered that. Okay? We'll be covering it again. Richard Smith says, is my text working? Yes, it is. And thank you for being here, Richard. We appreciate you. Richard is a dear friend of ours as well. Anyway, guys, that pretty much covers Europe. Now, we've not talked about everything. One of the reasons the USGS is not touching almost anything anywhere around the world. Not a darn thing. USGS says there's only 243 earthquakes worldwide. Well, folks, just so far I probably covered another 200 or plus earthquakes just from what I'm talking about now. Okay? Just from what I've talked about now. Okay? It's incredible. So let's go over to Japan. Okay? Off the east coast of Honshu, Japan. And this is what bugs me. USGS says there's one earthquake there. Only one earthquake. Folks, that is a 4.4 modern earthquake. It's over in the Mariana Island region, the North Mariana Island region, over in volcano islands of Japan. Okay? 116 kilometers east-southeast, and actually, yes, it's east-southeast from there. Tomioka, Japan. Tomioka, Japan. Now, over on the western side of Japan, there is a peninsula that kind of sticks up just like this, okay, off the west coast of Japan. It's called Noto Peninsula. 3 earthquakes there. Well, they're just minor tremors and one small earthquake there. Folks, USGS has not touched one of them. Didn't even come close to it. Brokefish here is in my chat, and I really appreciate him. He's also a dear friend of ours. He said, USGS does not list all quakes. They don't. They don't. Now, I said this the other day, and I'll say it again. After Ridgecrest happened in 2019, and I kid you not, that was a 7.1 earthquake that most scientists now say was an 8.0. There were 2 alleged 6.9 earthquakes there. USGS took one of them down completely and said the other was a 6.4 earthquake. I know for a fact because I documented everything that day. There were 2 6.4s. July 3rd. 2 separate and distinct locations. USGS took one of them down. The next day, just north of there, over in Ridgecrest, we had a 7.1 that now everyone is saying probably was an 8.1 earthquake. Major earthquake. 7.0 and larger are called major earthquakes. At that same time, good old Lucy Jones, who at the time worked for USGS, okay? She was front and center at a news conference at USGS in Los Angeles talking about the quakes because those quakes rattled LA like nothing else. It rattled Los Angeles like a bell. So USGS put out Lucy Jones front and center to talk to the media. Allegedly, she's the best commentator for the media. Fine, no problem. But a reporter asked her front and center, Lucy, why are you not showing all the earthquakes on the map? Immediately, without even thinking about it, Lucy Jones said, we don't have room on the map. I call BS. I call BS. Yes, at the time, there were probably 5,000 earthquakes in Southern California, ranging from down south in northeast San Diego County in what they call the Anza-Borrego Desert to north of Ridgecrest up near Olancha, California. 5,000 earthquakes in that area, with the largest being an 8.1 earthquake. And Lucy Jones says, oh, we don't have room on the map. I call BS. There was plenty of room to show all of the earthquakes. They just decide they're not going to. They're not going to. Okay? It's sad. It's very sad. But again, USGS is not reporting much of anything in Japan at all. Okay? Let's go north. We're talking about the Aleutian Island fault zone coming from the Kamchatka Peninsula over here in the northwest, all the way over through the Alaskan Peninsula up into mainland Alaska. The Aleutian Island fault today has one earthquake shown. There are about 4 earthquakes in the Aleutian Island fault zone, ranging from Atka, Alaska, over west to the Rat Islands. Okay? Today, USGS has located a 4.0 earthquake, moderate earthquake. This is 24 kilometers southeast of Atka, Alaska. Okay? There are a lot of small volcanoes, I shouldn't even say small, a lot of mid-range to large volcanoes over between the Rat Islands and Atka, Alaska. And those volcanoes are having earthquakes and tremors hitting them because magma is coming to those volcanoes and rattling the cages of those volcanoes. Magma is reawakening all the volcanoes all around the earth. That's what's happening. Okay? Going over into the southern peninsula of Alaska, we have 2 small earthquakes. One over 63 kilometers northeast of Cold Bay, Alaska, a 3.5 earthquake, and south of there, southeast of King Cove, being another 4.0 earthquake there. Going eastbound, Chinook, Alaska, a 2.1 minor earthquake. Then we go over into Old Iliamna volcano. Old Iliamna volcano is alive and well. Today, a 1.6 tremor hit there. 1.6, 1.7, 1.5, even 2.5 earthquakes have been hitting Old Iliamna volcano. Today, only 1 earthquake was recorded by the USGS. Okay? Then going up through the, got an itch, up through the inlet going towards Anchorage. Okay? There's a Cook Inlet that goes from the North Pacific up into towards Anchorage. In the Cook Inlet, folks, we have a 2.0 earthquake. Northeast of there. Now we're talking about Mount Redoubt. Mount Redoubt volcano in southwestern Alaska. Okay? We're seeing some earthquake activity occurring just south of that volcano. 1.3 tremor near Nilichik, Alaska, and a larger earthquake, 2.1, 60 kilometers west-northwest of Nilichik. This is just south of Mount Redoubt. Then right up just on the mountain, I want to say the foothills of Mount Redoubt, we have another 2.0 earthquake. Like I said, all of the volcanoes are reawakening. I believe there's 69 volcanoes in Alaska alone. 69 volcanoes in Alaska alone. Now, I'm not going to hit every place where there's an earthquake in Alaska today. Northwest of Anchorage, Houston, Alaska, a 2.8 earthquake. Southwest of there in Beluga, Alaska, another 2.0. Okay? We go eastbound from there, over to Knik River, K-N-I-K River, Alaska, a 2.5 earthquake there. Then I go over into Denali, Alaska, the southern part of Denali, Alaska, Denali National Park. a 1.4 earthquake tremor there, and just southwest of there, a 1.2 tremor there. Why am I talking about tremors? It's Denali, Alaska. Usually we have anywhere from 2.0 to 3.5 earthquakes hitting in Denali National Park. Remember, Mount Whitney is there. Denali National Park is actually a great big huge plate edge. The edge of the plate over in the North American plate. Denali National Park. It's a curved plate here. Okay? Forming Denali National Park. Northeast of Denali, we have another 1.5 tremor. Northeast of Denali National Park. Now, I'm going to say this again. I don't say it that often, but I'm going to say it again. We have a 1.5 tremor up here. USGS says it's southeast of Denali National Park. No, it's northeast of Denali National Park. USGS cannot ever get their directions right. Very, very rarely do they ever get their directions right. They just don't. Okay? Now, going north from there, we've had more tremors up near a place called Salcha, Alaska. Salcha. This Salcha, Alaska, about 4 weeks ago, had a 5.1 earthquake here. It's still ringing there. 1.3 tremor there, just north of Salcha. Also 1.5 near Fox, Alaska. Almost directly northwest of there, Living Good, Livengood, Alaska. Living Good. I wish they are living good. I hope they are. A 1.1 tremor in Living Good, Alaska. Directly northwest of there, Stevens Village. Stevens Village is just south of the Arctic Circle. Stevens Village, a 1.2 tremor there. About 100 miles southwest of there in Tanana, Alaska. Tanana, Alaska is a volcano. We had a 1.2 tremor there. Now I want to go almost straight east. Almost straight east. Over in the border region between Canada and Alaska, in the northern territories of Alaska and Canada. Dawson City, Canada. We have a 3.3 earthquake there. This is very prevalent in this area. We have 3.0s, 3.3s all the time over in the northern territories of Canada. This is just one of many that have hit here, and there are others. USGS doesn't typically show them, but today they are. Okay? Now, I want to go over into southeastern Alaska. There's a reason. Yakutat, Alaska. Yakutat, Alaska. A 1.8 tremor there. Now, why am I going there? Folks, this area is a volcanic region. Just northeast of there is Juneau, Alaska as well. This area is highly populated with earthquakes all the time. Literally. USGS is only saying a 1.8 tremor there. South of there by about 1,000 miles, we come to Sitkin Volcano. USGS is not saying anything about Sitkin Volcano. There are tremors hitting Sitkin Volcano today. Okay? Again, this is a major volcano. Tremors are hitting there, and USGS is not saying word one about it. A major volcano, USGS is not saying word one about it. A sad day. A sad day. We go into northeast Washington, or excuse me, not northeast, northwest Washington, Washington State. Today, Glacier Peak, USGS says, had a 1.4 tremor. Before I came on this program, I visited the seismograms in Washington and Oregon. Folks, Glacier Peak had 4 1.4 tremors today. They just barely turned the seismograph back on here at Glacier Peak within the last week. Prior to that, it had been many months, several months, since probably November last year, they turned off the seismograph at Glacier Peak. Glacier Peak is a major volcano in Washington. Why would they turn it off? That's a question I would love to ask them. Why did they turn it off, or why did they not post the seismographs or seismogram information up there? Because they decided they didn't want to. The Pacific Northwest Network probably decided, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to show what's happening here. They've done the same thing over at Mount Baker, which is northwest, east of there. Mount Baker, there are many, many tremors and earthquakes hitting there. I can vouch for that. I've seen the seismograms. Anyway, Glacier Peak 1.4 tremors there today. South of there, guess what? Can you guess? Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier USGS is saying that there's a 0.3 microquake there. A 0.3 microquake they show right below the summit. This is a half-mile deep inside Mount Rainier. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? There are many, many, many tremors and microquakes hitting Mount Rainier. But what USGS is not showing at all. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes at Mount Rainier today. 3 small earthquakes. 2 of them at least 3.5. The other one about an hour and a half later that was at least a 3.0, if not larger. They didn't show that, did they? Not at all. They don't dare say what is going on at these volcanoes. Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens, and I will say also Mount Hood, have a darn good chance of reawakening and erupting. Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens have a very good chance of erupting at any time. Okay? I want to make perfectly clear what's going on. You folks that reside in Washington, anywhere near Mount Rainier and or Mount St. Helens, you need to keep an eye out. Both mountains are steaming. You probably saw steam coming from both mountains today. Both volcanoes are awake and moving. Please don't forget that. Each of these volcanoes is going to erupt, and it's a matter of time, not necessarily when. It's going to happen. Broke Fish is here in the chat saying he has seen the seismograms at Wizard Lake. Okay, I shouldn't say Wizard Island, Wizard Lake, Wizard Island, over in the western part of Crater Lake. It's not just Crater Lake, guys. Yes, Crater Lake is shaking. Okay? Over on the northeast side of Crater Lake, Cleetwood Cove is where the seismograph is located. The Cleetwood Cove seismograph, they keep turning on and off. The Mount Scott seismogram over on the southwest side or southeast side of Crater Lake, they also turn on and off at will. Both seismograms are very busy. Okay? Both of them are very busy. Things are happening. Now, it's not just those volcanoes, guys. Newberry Volcano, Sissons Volcano, Bachelor Volcano. Bachelor Volcano, they've had the seismograph turned off for probably 2 or 3 years now. And there's no excuse for it. None. Both the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and USGS should be completely embarrassed that they've had that volcano shut off. And they're still not reporting the exact magnitudes of earthquakes and tremors hitting those volcanoes. Yet those volcanoes are active. Those volcanoes are active and shaking. I've had reports from my friends from Mount Hood. They've seen it shake there. They feel the shaking. Okay? They feel the shaking. It's going on and on and on and on. Cinnamon Butte volcano just north of, just north of Mount Shasta, northeast of Mount Shasta. It's also moving, and they've had that seismograph. Well, they've got 3 seismographs over there, and they've turned all 3 of them off. Okay? That's what they do. And yet Mount Shasta is probably the most dangerous volcano in the United States. The most dangerous volcano in the United States, and they've got the seismographs basically shut off. And they rarely, well, I can't say even rarely. Most of the time, there's only one seismograph that's even reporting anything. And many times, they forge the information on that seismogram. I've caught them. I've caught them doing that. The same thing is true at Mount Lassen, south of there. Mount Lassen is very busy. It hasn't erupted since, I believe, it was 1916. It's going to erupt again. And those 2 volcanoes are on the southernmost of the Cascade Mountain volcanoes, which range up in southern Canada all the way south to Mount Lassen, the Cascade Mountain volcanoes. Okay? Now, someone was just asking me what's going on in Utah and Switzerland. I don't know about you guys, but I know exactly where Utah is. I used to live there. I used to live north of Utah and in Utah itself. I've been there, done that. Utah and Switzerland are tens of thousands of miles away from each other. I talked about Switzerland earlier today, earlier in this broadcast. Utah is still getting hammered. Utah is still getting hammered from that storm that hit the Pacific West Coast the other day. I shouldn't say the Pacific West Coast, the Pacific East Coast, California. Now, the mountain range in California, okay? The Sierra Nevada mountains have gotten hammered. I've seen videos from news crews. I've seen videos from the California Highway Patrol. It's dangerous. Feet and feet and feet of snow. They were expected to get upwards of 5 to 10 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains. That has happened. Okay? Donner Pass was closed down for a time. News crews there and the CHP units had a hard time even getting to people that were stalled out in that snowstorm. You folks should have no idea what danger you put the highway patrolman in by going up into that area. You folks should have stayed down off the mountain. You had no business going up to that elevation, 1 mile high and higher. You should have stayed off the mountain. Very, very, very dangerous. And I believe the danger still exists tonight. Okay? Stay out of it. I've seen pictures of Reno, Nevada covered in snow. The snow plows have been doing a very good job of keeping the streets and byways of Nevada open. But for a time, Interstate 80 was closed. Interstate 80 was closed. Utah. Northern Utah was getting hammered. I have children there in northern Utah. My buddy Don Patoka lives in northern Utah. My buddy Surgery 68 lives in Utah. Both of them are moderators for this program. Both of them said feet of snow hit there. It's been hard. my kids that live there have said 6 to 10 inches of snow. One of my daughters also had a hard time getting to and from work because of the snow. Okay? It's incredible. It's incredible. Richard Smith over in Nova Scotia, Canada says, slush and ice are killers. They absolutely are. Now, we also have a dear friend of ours, Sleeping Volcano, lives over in Denver, Colorado area. And also one of my dearest friends, Carolyn, lives over in the Denver, Colorado area also, just north of Denver. Both are saying it's treacherous now in Denver. Be very careful traveling to, from, around the Denver area, because they're getting that snow that Utah got. The snow has now moved into Colorado. Yes, the snow resorts are going to get hammered. Soon it's going to be very great skiing, but for now, you skiers need to stay out of the mountains. Okay? Yes, I know Aspen and some of the other ski resorts are wonderful places to be. I totally agree, they are. But stay out of them if you don't have to be there. Okay? Stay out of them. Sarah Dell is asking why. I'm saying you're cutting your own throats there. It's dangerous traveling there. Don't do it. If you don't have to be in that area, don't do it. Okay? NCWQ Explorer also said here in the chat, if you'd like to help me replace my computer and get back to showing all that I can, please support us. We have our PayPal locations opened up. 2 of them. Go to our PayPal locations and donate towards us getting our new computer. We'd especially want to do that very, very soon. I think I'm going to order a computer tonight. Okay, I haven't ordered it as of yet, but I'm probably going to order it tonight. We'd appreciate any of all help that we can get in getting us a new computer. Okay, so please do that. Now, I got a notification that another lady sent us a note, sent us a letter over to our post office box, P.O. Box 422, Valdese, North Carolina. Valdese spelled Valdese, North Carolina. The zip code is 28690. So if you want to do that, stick a check inside of a card or inside of a letter, inside of an envelope, and mail it to our post office box so we can get it in good order and start paying for this computer. I want to get it and pay it off so I'm not making payments. I don't have enough money. I'm still trying to pay off doctors for my cancer treatments. I appreciate any and all help that you would give us to take care of that. Sarah Dell says she used to live in Aspen. It's a great place. It's a great place. There in Vail, I've been there. I love it there. I've been in Georgetown, Colorado as well. A great town. A great, great town. I love the people there. But people, stay out of the mountains for right now. Please just stay out of it. It's not worth you going there. You could get hurt or cause other people to get hurt. Stay out of there. Okay? Different topic says my wall looks cool. I appreciate that. But please, guys, please let's stay on topic. I'd really appreciate that. I'd really appreciate that. Anyway, do you guys have any questions about anything we've said so far? Okay. I'm going to go across across the United States now. Now, there's a lot to talk about. I'll tell you, there's a lot to talk about. And we've literally only scratched the surface. Okay? Let's go west. Going west over into South or actually not south, but north central Idaho. Smiths Ferry, Idaho, almost 2 weeks ago now, got hit by a 4.5 earthquake. Okay? Since then, that town and that entire regional area continues to get hit with earthquakes. Today, a 3.0 earthquake hit there, and just west of there in Stanley, Idaho. East of there, in Stanley, Idaho, a 2.1 earthquake. Both of these areas are possibly not even near the western side of the Yellowstone magma chamber. This is in north central Idaho. These are in the Rocky Mountains. Okay? These are Rocky Mountain fault earthquakes. Faults all over this area. Okay? Those are fault earthquakes. West of Stanley is a place called Challis, Idaho. Challis National Park. Challis is the western side of the Yellowstone magma chamber. Challis gets hit all the time with earthquakes as a result of the Yellowstone magma chamber. The Yellowstone magma chamber is bordered on the west side by Challis, Idaho, on the north side by Canada, and on the east side over into Montana, Wyoming, and even northern Utah. Okay? The Yellowstone magma chamber is 11 Grand Canyons in size. That's huge. That is huge. That's what's going on. Yes, there are earthquakes over in the Yellowstone magma chamber today. Okay? Northwest of Yellowstone Lake, West Yellowstone, Montana, the Norris Geyser Basin, a 0.4 minor microquake. A microquake. This is only what the USGS is acknowledging. Okay? If you want to really know what's going on over in Yellowstone, go over to the seismology department at the University of Utah. Go over online to the University of Utah seismology department. Go on to click on seismograms. Then you can scroll up to Utah, or you can scroll further up to Yellowstone. The University of Utah monitors all of the seismographs in Yellowstone National Park and that surrounding area. Okay? Yes, there are earthquakes and tremors hitting that area every day. USGS is talking about one microquake over in West Yellowstone near the Norris Geyser Basin. Okay? That's only what they're willing to tell us. Northwest of there is another story. Okay? They say this is east-northeast of Yellowstone, Montana. No, it's not. Okay? This is west-northwest of Yellowstone. It's not on the east side of Yellowstone at all. It's on the northwest side of Yellowstone. A minus 0.7 microquake. Minus numbers are usually indicative of being above sea level. Folks, I'm sorry to say, this whole area of the Rocky Mountains is way above sea level. And yet, the USGS would have us to believe that this is above sea level. Yes, it is. This is not a microquake. This is an earthquake in Yellowstone. This is 6 kilometers deep, 6.5 kilometers deep. Okay? It's way above sea level. Okay? Just a little southwest of there. Hebgen Lake Estates. Hebgen Lake Estates. I would love to show you this on the map. As soon as I get my new computer programmed and everything, I'll show you the maps again. Hebgen Lake Estates, Montana. Okay? Folks, in 1959, Hebgen Lake was hit by a 7.1 earthquake. a 7.1 earthquake. Now, I have people telling me all the time, Ron, a major earthquake will set off the volcano. No, it won't. If the 7.1 earthquake in Hebgen Lake didn't set off the volcano, nothing like that will. A major earthquake, and scientists even think that this may have been an 8.0. Rick Silva, one of my dearest friends, just gave us a $10 super chat. Rick, thank you so much for that. God bless you, my friend. Rick and his wife, Angie, are longtime viewers and listeners to this program. They're members of my family, and I love them very much. Thank you, Rick. God bless you for that. Tell your wife hello for us. We love her, too. Anyway, guys, Hebgen Lake is where a 7.1 earthquake hit. Today, again, the USGS is saying a minus 0.4 microquake hit Hebgen Lake Estates. There is no way in heck it was a minus number. Again, Hebgen Lake is far, far above sea level. This happens to be 11.5 kilometers deep. Basically 7 miles deep. Okay? Incredible. Incredible. And USGS wants us to believe nothing's happening. Director, and yes, I'm speaking directly face to face right now with the director of USGS. Okay? If you're watching, or any of your scientists are watching this program tonight, or your employees, please call me. Please call me. I would love to talk to you and ask you simple questions about your agency. Okay? I would love to know what you're thinking. Okay? I would love to know what you're thinking. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, let's go on here. So that's Yellowstone, and there's more earthquakes than that. Okay, I'm telling you, there's a lot more earthquakes than that. For example, Dillon, Montana, Yellowstone, Montana, a 2.0 earthquake. A 2.0 earthquake. And another quarry blast near Butte, Montana. Yes, another quarry blast near Butte, Montana. How about that? There happens to be a quarry north and east of Butte. It's a rather large quarry, about maybe 2/3 the size of Butte, Montana. A large quarry there, 2.0 quarry blast, 1 mile deep. 1 mile deep. Interesting how they will blast in the above the Yellowstone magma chamber and nothing said. Okay? North of there, Yellowstone, Montana, another 2.0 earthquake there. Northwest of there, Alberton, Montana, a 1.0 tremor there. And further northeast, Seeley Lake, Montana, a 0.6 microquake, Seeley Lake, Montana. Seeley Lake, Montana, folks, is a volcanic area. It's a huge volcanic area. A few years ago, I spotted a volcano there while doing some research. My name is on the volcano now. Ron's Volcano, near Seeley Lake, Montana. Okay? That entire area from the Canadian border south is part of the Yellowstone volcano magma chamber. Okay? Huge area. Huge, huge area. I've hiked in that area. I've fished in that area. I would love to go back and have fun over that area, hiking and camping. I don't know whether I ever will. Okay? I can hope. I can hope. Also, I forgot to mention when I was talking about Oregon. Forgive me for this, guys. There was a 1.2 tremor east-northeast Springfield, Oregon. This is a 1.2 tremor, and this is just barely maybe a mile or less. Well, I can't say that. Maybe 2.5 miles east-northeast of Springfield, Oregon. A 1.2 tremor there. And folks, that may also be as a result of magma down beneath the surface in Oregon. This would not surprise me one little bit. Okay? Going into Crescent Valley, Nevada, a 3.8 earthquake, small earthquake there. Folks, there are all kinds of faults over in Nevada. All kinds of faults. Okay? A 3.8 earthquake there. Now this is north and east, probably I want to say, 2,400 miles northeast of Pyramid Lake. Out in the middle of Nevada. A 3.8 earthquake there. Now, I mentioned Pyramid Lake. Pyramid Lake in Northern California. Actually, it's not in California. I'm sorry, it's in Western Nevada. Pyramid Lake is a volcano. Over on the southern west side of Pyramid Lake is a town called Sutcliffe, Nevada. Just northeast of Sutcliffe, Nevada is Pyramid Lake. There was a 0.5 microquake hitting Pyramid Lake today. Northwest of Pyramid Lake, there's a 1.2 tremor there, near Erlong, California. Now, folks, why am I talking about Pyramid Lake, California? Folks, if you look at the Navy maps, yes, I'm talking about earthquakes even now. I'm talking about the Navy maps. You can Google Navy maps or DuckDuckGo the Navy maps or whatever search engine you use, Firefox, whatever. But if you Google the Walker Lane Fault Zone, you can Google the Walker Lane Fault Zone. That fault zone goes from, on the south, the Gulf of California, all the way north to Pyramid Lake. At some point in time, there's going to be many massive earthquakes along the Walker Lane Fault Zone. Yes, we've had some very strong 6.5, 6.9 earthquakes on the Walker Lane Fault Zone in the past, say, 5 years. About 3 years ago was the last one. We're going to have many more than that. Because even that 6.9 did not do anything about growing a fissure. A very long, multi-thousand-mile fissure from over in northwestern Nevada all the way down to the Gulf of California. That whole area is going to be an inland waterway. An inland waterway along the Walker Lane Fault. And today, on the Walker Lane Fault Zone east of Lake Tahoe, Yerington, Nevada, a 2.1 minor earthquake there. It's happening, guys. It's happening. The last 6.9 was over in Antelope Valley, California, on the Walker Lane Fault Zone. During that earthquake sequence, we probably had 4,000 earthquakes up and down the Walker Lane Fault. And they're still happening today. Just real briefly, let's go over to the San Francisco Bay Area. On the on the east side of San Francisco Bay, on the Hayward Fault, Walnut Creek, California, a 2.3 minor earthquake hit there today. Okay, let's go west over the San Andreas Fault, on the western side of the San Francisco Bay Area. Folks, the two earthquakes I'm going to talk to you now are just west-northwest, actually not necessarily west-northwest, I'm going to say west of the San Francisco Zoo. Not more than 2 miles west of the San Francisco Zoo. A 2.0 earthquake hit out in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Northern California west of the San Francisco Zoo today. A 2.0 earthquake. Southwest of there, another 1.7 tremor hit there. 2 earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault. On the San Andreas Fault. Let's talk about another 2 earthquakes that hit on the San Andreas Fault in Northern California today. How about Parkfield, California? Parkfield, California is the earthquake capital of California. A 1.0 and a 1.3 tremor hit over at Parkfield, California today. The San Andreas Fault is alive and well. There have been many other earthquakes here as well. Okay? Just saying. Bodefish, California. This is a volcanic field, Bodefish, California. A 1.1 tremor. Just barely northeast of there, Kernville, California, with another 1.4 tremor. Southeast of there, Little Lake, California, a 1.1 tremor. South of there, Searles Valley, Ridgecrest, California, another 1.1 tremor there. And 65 miles north of Ridgecrest, Olancha, California, with another 1.6 tremor there. So the whole entire Mojave Valley is getting hit with earthquakes. And this is only what USBS wants us to know about. These are not all of the earthquakes in the Mojave Desert today. That's only what they want us to know about. More earthquakes hitting on the San Jacinto Fault. San Jacinto Fault. From the San Bernardino Mountains at Little Creek, California, 1.5 tremor. South over into Loma Linda, California. Also 1.1 and 1.5 tremors in Loma Linda on the San Jacinto Fault. Calamasa, California, 1.4. Beaumont, California, 1.1. Then we go about 100 miles south of there. Fallbrook, California, a 0.2 microquake and a 0.8 microquake, Fallbrook, California. Further south on the San Jacinto, the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. 0.6, 1.3 tremors, 1.3 Borrego Springs in the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park, and south of there, also in Borrego Springs, a 1.1 tremor. We go just west off the San Jacinto Fault, also in Borrego Springs, another 1.0 tremor. Then we go west over to Julian, California. Julian, California is the apple capital of San Diego, California. The apple capital of San Diego, California. Another 1.0 tremor there. This time, this is on a different fault. This is the Elsinore Fault. Both faults coming out of Orange County, California, going southbound into San Diego County, California. Okay? Both faults. Going back southeast on the San Jacinto, Ocotillo Wells on the eastern side of the Chocolate Mountains. Ocotillo Wells over in the Imperial Valley, California. At the top of the Chocolate Mountains, we also have another 1.3 tremor, also identified as Ocotillo Wells. Let's drop over further into the occupied area of the Imperial Valley. Heber, California, where we've seen swarms of earthquakes. Today a 1.6 tremor, but it's not the only one. These are only earthquakes that USGS wants to tell us about. We go north. We go north over into Holtville, California. Numerous 1.7, 2.0 earthquakes, and up to 3.0 earthquakes over Holtville. Okay? Imperial, the town of Imperial. 2.0 earthquakes all over, and I believe also a 3.5 earthquake has hit in the town of Imperial, California. 2.0 and 3.0 earthquakes hitting North and Westmoreland, California. Interesting, huh? To the west, El Centro, California. Numerous, and I'm saying 10 to 15 3.0 earthquakes today. El Centro, California. USGS isn't talking about it, are they? Let's go northwest over to the southeast corner of the Salton Sea. Calipatria, California. There's a small town there. They have a seismograph there. We're talking 100 earthquakes and tremors over in Calipatria, California today, for probably a total of 300 earthquakes and tremors in the Imperial Valley today in Southern California. And USGS wants to tell us there's 239 earthquakes worldwide. There's over that just in the Imperial Valley alone. Okay? What can I say? Lies from the preeminent seismic energy or seismic agency in the world. They can't tell the truth. Southwestern Texas will continue to see swarms of earthquakes. Coyanosa, Texas, Toya, Texas. There's another small town there. I can't even remember the name of the town. It's not White City, New Mexico. White City, New Mexico exists, but it's not where these tremors are. These are all in Texas. They're all in Texas. 1.5, 2.0, 2.8, 1.8, 3.0 tremors all over this area. Why? Folks, this is oil and gas fields. Oil and gas exploration fields. Okay? If you go over to the USGS map, or not even that, go over to Google Earth. You're going to find this whole area is saturated with oil and gas drilling wells. Plots of land like this, or even squares like this, or even abandoned pads. Abandoned pads can be abandoned pads, but at one point in time, those abandoned pads had a hole in the ground that they were pumping oil and gas out of. Those holes in the grounds are seismic man-made earthquake faults. Man-made earthquake faults. Anywhere where there's a hole in the ground, whether they are exploring for steam from the volcanoes or oil and gas in Texas or Nebraska, Kansas, or Oklahoma, anywhere where there's a hole in the ground, it's an automatic earthquake fault. Seismic energy hits those earthquake faults and fractures the rock there, causing Earth to move. Okay? Causing the Earth to move. Jesse Woodward, if that's really your name, this thing on my nose here are glasses here. Right here is an airway. Okay? It's an airway allowing me to breathe. Okay? Just so you know, to clear up any other things that you have said or anybody else has asked. I was a cop for 24 years. Okay? I got in fisticuffs with many people over the years. I was also a police officer trainer. I trained civilian, military, and civilians on how to use firearms, police batons, or other methods of defense. During some of that training, I got struck in the chest, I got struck in the abdomen. My right diaphragm underneath my right lung is paralyzed, requiring me to wear this breathing device here to get air. Okay? That's why. Just so you know. Okay? It has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. Anyway, getting back to southwestern Texas. Oil fields are all the time getting hit with earthquakes. Toya, Texas, 2.0s, 1.5s, 2.5s, 3.0 earthquakes all the time. 2.6, 1.6, 3.0 earthquakes all the time. Today, southwestern Texas. Going up into Oklahoma. Prague, Oklahoma continues to get hit with earthquakes and tremors. Oklahoma has 586,000 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. Texas is the largest state in the United States. They have the largest number of oil wells and pumps and jacks all over Texas. Probably 3 or 4 times as many as Oklahoma does. Oklahoma is all the time getting hit, not just in Prague, Oklahoma. Perry, Oklahoma, for example, all the time getting hit. All the time. Now, USGS is not showing anything on the New Madrid fault. They are omitting information. Omission is another form of lying to the public. They are absolutely lying to the public. Missouri, Arkansas, and Tennessee on either side and above the fault zone. Actually, Missouri's not above the fault zone. It's smack dab in the middle of the fault zone they're getting hit. Okay? Anywhere from minor tremors on up to full-blown 2.0 to 3.5, even 4.0 earthquakes all over Arkansas, Tennessee, and Missouri. Going up into Illinois and Indiana, they're getting hit with 2.0 earthquakes and tremors. Illinois and Indiana, and even some tremors over in Ohio. Okay? They're getting hit. The New Madrid fault zone is going to bust, probably, I'm going to say, within the next 5 years. 5 years. The earthquakes that we're seeing right now on the New Madrid fault were just minor tremors and microquakes just 2 years ago. The earthquakes we're seeing now on the New Madrid fault were just minor tremors and microquakes 2 years ago. And now they're full-blown earthquakes, small and moderate earthquakes up and down the fault. It's going to happen, folks. I don't give it much more than 5 years. Some scientists are saying 25 years, but I don't think they're right. We've seen such an increase on the Pneumatic Fault. I don't see any way where the Pneumatic Fault could not sustain such a major earthquake as a 7.0, 8.0 quake here within the next 5 years. Okay? I see that happening. On the eastern part of the United States and going up into eastern Canada, we're getting hit with earthquakes and tremors all up and down the eastern side. Why? Because, folks, the Mid-Atlantic Fault is pushing on the North American Plate. The North American Plate is Canada and the United States and down into Puerto Rico and Mexico. The North American Plate. It's pushing the North American Plate in a south-southwesterly direction. As a result of that, Georgia, Savannah, Georgia is getting hit with 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes and tons of tremors. South Carolina, Kings Mountain, South Carolina, 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes and tons of tremors. Sumter, South Carolina, just east of Elgin and Lugoff, South Carolina, is getting hit with tremors and minor earthquakes. Again, this is along the Eastern Continental Divide. You can see the Eastern Continental Divide on the U.S. map. You can see primarily where it rises up off the Atlantic Plate. It rises up in the foothills where I live here in North Carolina. It rises up to 5,000, 5,500, 6,000 feet above sea level. That entire area of the Eastern Continental Divide is getting hit. From Georgia north into Canada, Quebec, Montreal, Toronto, that whole area is getting hit. Okay? We're seeing it. We're seeing it. I'm sure Richard Smith that lives over in Nova Scotia has felt these tiny tremors and earthquakes. The entire fault zone is moving. The entire fault zone is moving. Now, I want to go over and talk about Iceland for a minute. The United States Geological Survey is showing no earthquakes in Iceland. Again, this is a falsehood. For the USGS not to show earthquakes in Iceland is omission. Is omitting earthquakes. That's a lie. There are earthquakes again in Iceland, going up the Reykjanes Peninsula, that spit of land coming off the main land of Iceland, the main island of Iceland. That spit of land is called the Reykjanes Peninsula. It's getting hit. Now, why? In the past month, since November 10th, November 10th last year is when we first saw an eruption up near the populated area of the Reykjanes Peninsula. Okay? This was just north of Grindavik, Iceland. Okay? Since then, we've had two more eruptions just northwest of there. Okay? Now, on the southeastern coast of the Reykjanes Peninsula, we have a town called Grindavik. Just northwest of Grindavik is what they call the Svartsengi power plant. The Svartsengi power plant. Beneath the Svartsengi power plant, by the way, the Svartsengi power plant is a geothermal power plant where there are turbines where man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of the Reykjanes volcano to obtain steam to power the turbines to generate electricity and bring hot magma heated water over to heat the Blue Lagoon Spa and also every home on the island of Iceland. There's one other power plant over in Iceland itself. It is east of Reykjavik, Iceland, which is the capital of Iceland, Reykjavik. There's a small power plant there. Between those two power plants, they supply all the hot water and electricity to the island of Iceland. Beneath the Svartsengi power plant, there's a huge magma reservoir. On one side of the reservoir, on the northeast side of the reservoir, scientists believe that the pressure of the magma intrusion into that reservoir has caused the magma to find the easiest route away from that reservoir. That route has been where we've seen earthquakes. Okay? We've seen the fissure open up in January and again in February last month, where it erupted along that entire fissure area and set out a lava field on all sides of those fissures, even up towards and including the western edge of Grindavik. Okay? Now we're seeing earthquakes again. For a time on Saturday, the earthquake stopped. The scientists believe that the intruding magma into that fissure area again is what caused the earthquakes. Okay? That's what caused the earthquakes. Now, earthquakes stopped on Saturday because the magma got into that intrusion in that fault area, in that fissure area. Now the earthquakes have started up again. The scientists believe that the next eruption could happen in that same fissure area or just north of there towards Reykjavik sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. They don't believe that the magma is going to erupt inside Grindavik. Now it could happen. It could happen. But they don't believe it's going to. They believe that the next eruption will be along that same fissure area or just north of there towards Reykjavik. Okay? They've seen a lot of earthquakes in that area. Magma goes into the area of least obstruction. That's just what magma does. That's where they've seen the earthquakes. Magma is going through the areas of least resistance all over the world towards the volcanoes. This is an area where there's a volcano and a great big huge magma reservoir down beneath Svartsengi power plant, and now the magma has left there and gone up further north. That's what they believe has happened now over in Iceland. So folks, stay tuned to this channel, because as soon as it happens, we'll bring the word of the next eruption in Iceland, which will be the fourth eruption in as many months. Okay? So be prepared with us for that eruption, because it's going to happen. Now, do you have any questions for me? I've pretty much been on here nearly 2 hours. Okay? Want to make sure I answer any questions. And now it's open to all of you. Okay? It's going to happen, guys. Nathan Hester's here in the chat saying, what did the father buffalo say to the son of buffalo when dropped off at school? Bison. Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. I could have seen that coming. I should have seen that coming. Ken Staley is asking, the name of this site is Emergency Management Associates. Please subscribe to this channel, folks. Please not just subscribe, but when you subscribe, click on that little bell icon. There's a little tiny bell icon. Click on that. When you do, click on the word ALL. As soon as you click on that bell, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items. Click on the word ALL, which should get you notified when we come on the air. We come on the air sometime after 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then we do Sunday school on Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. Nathan Hester says, sorry, Ron. Yeah, I know. you guys are crazy. That's okay. We're all crazy. Malachi's Corner says, do you think the ground heating up helped start the fires in Texas? No. I don't think that's even a possibility. My honest idea, and this is not based on any scientific fact at all, okay? Nobody's even said what started the fires. Reporters have asked that same thing of the fire chiefs in Texas, the state fire chief that's in charge of TEEKS, TEEKS, which is a offshoot of Texas A&M University. TEEKS is a first responder school over there in Texas. I've been to TEEKS, okay? We held several disaster drills in TEEKS, Texas. It's a wonderful place to hold disaster drills of all kinds. But over there is where the state fire marshal, the state fire chief works, and he's even said that they don't have any idea what started this fire. My gut feeling is somebody set it. There was another fire that got out of hand on Sunday yesterday. Okay? I believe it is arson fires. Okay? Eli Irsch says, what are some hot spots for earthquakes in Oregon? Will the Yellowstone volcano blow up soon? No. I just told you guys just not more than 25 minutes ago that the Yellowstone volcano will not erupt anytime soon. Okay? In order for that to happen, we must have multiple earthquakes, and I'm saying 4.5 moderate earthquakes or larger. Multiple 4.5 earthquakes at Norris Geyser Basin or the Madison Geyser Basin, that area in Yellowstone. It's not happening. And those earthquakes could happen at any time, any place in and around Yellowstone at all. At some point 2 years ago, the scientists thought that the magma chamber beneath Yellowstone Lake was expanding and it was pushing up a dike like this. A dike is an intrusion of magma to fill a hole beneath Lake Yellowstone. Yes, that did happen. But they were expecting that dike to continue and have an eruption under Yellowstone Lake, which would be a phreatic eruption, meeting with that cold water from the lake, hitting that hot 2,000 plus degree magma or lava, and the thing exploding. Yes, that could happen. But we don't see that happening right now. Yes, occasionally we have a tremor around Yellowstone Lake. Occasionally we have tremors over in the Norris or Madison Geyser Basin. Why? We have geysers going up, man. We have tons of geysers all over Yellowstone. At any one point in time, that could happen. I just don't believe it's going to happen anytime soon. Okay? I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I've been watching this thing for a very long time, guys. I've been watching all this for a very, very long time. I used to live in Idaho. When I was a kid, we visited Yellowstone many times. I visited Yellowstone again several times as an adult. I've been watching this area for years and years. I used to live in Utah. I used to live in Colorado. I used to live in California. I've been watching earthquakes and volcanoes for a long, long time. I've been studying it. I got a cotton picking degree. The degree doesn't make me feel any better about anything. Once you get so far away from your degree, the degree only taught you the basics. The real power of someone like myself is someone who studied it and continues studying it and gets the latest information. That's what you have in me. You've got somebody that studied it and continues to expand on the knowledge, giving the knowledge to you as well. Okay? That's what you have in me. You have an emergency preparedness, emergency management professional imparting my experience to you so you know what's going to happen. Okay? Laura Wyman says they asked that about a dozen fires set in Ontario, Canada, exactly the same time. Folks, those, I believe, are arson. I don't believe it has anything to do with hotspots or magma down beneath the plate. Or down inside the plate, inside the crust of the earth. Okay? Nathan Hester says, Ron's a king earthquake man for sure. I'm not the expert, guys. I'm studied. That is what makes me dangerous. I've studied it. I found out what is happening. Okay? Ken Staley says, how about starting the fires in Northern California or Oregon? That might be a little bit different. Wildfires around Mount Shasta and Mount Lassen last year, yes, it could have been magma. But even some of those fires were arson fires. Okay? You have to keep your eyes on the ball. Whenever there's a hot spot, you can darn well better believe I've given it an honest looking at. I'm constantly following this. I'm constantly following it to the best of my ability. That way I can give you the best understanding of what's going on. Okay? The Geological Survey is not going to do that. They never will do it. They're too set on doing the least amount of work necessary. That's all. They're set on doing the least amount of work necessary. Now, it's not the average scientist or paper pusher. Those people are not the ones responsible. It's management. It's the director of USGS. When I start talking crap about USGS, I'm talking crap about the management and the director of the United States Geological Survey. If they had any huevos, they would tell the truth of what's going on. Okay? Even things that are happening in British Columbia, guys. Some of it, yes, is magma beneath the surface, but not all of it. Yes, you guys in British Columbia have a lot of tremors and earthquakes that only your agency in Canada is reporting, because USGS is not doing it. That's another reason we monitor what's going on in Canada and in Mexico, because USGS isn't doing it. They'll lie to you until they can laugh, and that's what they're doing. They're laughing. They're laughing all the way to put their paychecks in the bank. Okay? It's terrible. Deborah Eden saying, I believe you're right about arson. There are many of them being arrested just in our area. We live in western Nevada in the valley below. Yes, in Tahoe. It's sick. It's sick. And those areas got hit bad by firestorms last year. That's going to happen again, because we have sick people here in our world. Laura Wyman says, British Columbia has fires underground in the Deadwood. Yes, you do. Many, many fires. We saw those in Washington and Oregon in years past. You can talk to my buddy that we've had here in the chat tonight. He can tell you about the fires. He's an expert. He's fought the fires. He's fought the fires. His name is Brokefish here in the chat, by the way. Brokefish, he was here earlier. Anyway, guys, Laura Wynn says 100 fires. Yeah, something around that. It's crazy. It really is. It is nuts. Yeah, Brokefish says there are holdover fires every year. Yes, absolutely. And those are going to continue for years and years. There's fire down beneath in the crust of the earth that we walk on. We just don't know about it. Malachi's course says, do you think the increasing pace of pole shifting is what's increased earthquakes around the world? That's only a small portion of it. Okay? Yes, the pole shift is causing earthquakes, but that's just a tiny fraction part of it. That's only a tiny fractional part of it. People have talked about the pole shift causing earthquakes and the pole shift going to happen next year or the year after that or whatever. Folks, no one was around the last time the pole shift happened. No one was anywhere near here. Folks, the pole shift's going to happen, but none of us know when. Some of us, the scientists will tell you they don't even know when. Some people have said within the next 1 or 2 years. They're wrong. They're wrong. I don't know. But I still don't think it's going to happen that quick. Okay? I just don't think so. So many other things that are happening. By the way, there's one earthquake I forgot to tell you about. It's down in the South Atlantic. The South Sandwich Islands had another 5.0 large earthquake, and this happened early this morning, just before 1 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. A 5.0 earthquake in the South Atlantic. That earthquake near the South Sandwich Islands is going to make its way around and over to the North Atlantic or the Mid-Atlantic Fault, going up into the South Mid-Atlantic, going over into the North Mid-Atlantic, and straight up the North Atlantic over towards Iceland, or even further north than that. Okay? Large earthquakes travel the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Okay? That's what's happening. Richard Smith is here saying, God bless the EMA family. Much love from Nova Scotia. Everyone stay safe and prepared. Richard Smith, you do the same, my friend. God bless you. Much love, my friend. Anyway, guys, any more questions here? I want to thank all of you and all of our mods here tonight. Yes, we've had a bunch, and I mean a bunch of trolls, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Trolls are happening all over the place. I think they want to get us canceled here on YouTube, and that's fine. Because as soon as I get my computer, we're all probably going to move over to Rumble. I already have a channel there. The only reason I haven't gone back there is because my computer right now can't handle it. But as soon as I get a new computer, we're gone. We're going to go over to Rumble. And that's just me. There are probably hundreds more just like me, including my dear friend Mark Pyers. He's taken his program over to Rumble. Why? Because YouTube has demonetized him. YouTube is not going to pay him anymore. He's a realtor, but he also wanted to depend more on YouTube paying him to do his show. He's an entertainer, he's a musician. But YouTube demonetized him. The only money he's now getting is from people like you and me that pay him, and people like you that help us here on our channel. We appreciate any and all super chats that you give us. We really do. That means the world to me. Okay? When you give us PayPal donations, when you send donations to our P.O. Box, again, P.O. Box 422, Valdese, Valdesc, North Carolina, zip code is 28690. When you send us donations, it means the world to us. Right now, we're trying to get this new computer so we can get back on the air and normally show you the earthquakes, some maps, and show you other things that are going on. Okay? There were 2 train derailments this past weekend as well. Isn't that incredible? 2 train derailments. Both of them Norfolk Southern trains. One of them dumping plastic pellets into the water. Dumping plastic pellets into the water. Fortunately, it was no huge disaster like they've done before. We're thankful for that. We can be thankful for that. Anyway, guys, Brokefish says he's over on Rumble as well. More free speech over there. I agree. Nathan Hester says he has train tracks right behind his house. Yes, they're all over. Anyway, guys, I wanted to leave you with a note of spirituality tonight. We talk about physical problems in our life. We talk about physical problems in our lives, in our world that we live in, all the time. All the time. It's only going to get worse. Okay? I hate saying that. Over on our Facebook Messenger threads, I told everybody about a man who was an investigative reporter back in 2020. January 6, 2020, he walked into the Capitol along with a bunch of other rioters. He was seen on video leaning up against a wall with his camera and tripod behind him. He was text messaging his report to whoever he was supplying information to about what was going on at the Capitol. Okay, there was no real riot at all. The Democrat Communist Party said it was an insurrection. It was not. The place did not get destroyed. Okay? It didn't. But now this man is being charged with misdemeanor counts, saying he disturbed the peacefulness of the Capitol, which he did not do. They said he screamed and hollered and slandered the Congress. He did not. The Congresswoman was not in session either in the House or the Senate. He didn't do anything wrong. But Friday, or last week, the FBI said he had to turn himself in by Friday morning or else they would come get him, handcuff his butt, and take him to court. That's what happened. He turned himself into the FBI office in Texas. They took him over to the federal courthouse in Dallas and charged him with misdemeanor crimes. They handcuffed him and presented him before the magistrate of that federal court with leg chains and handcuff chains on his body. He was not violent at all. He never was. Again, this is political violence against our... And they just tried buffering me now. This is what they do to gain power over us. They commit political violence against us, and that's going to happen again and again and again. This investigative reporter now works for the Blaze television network as an investigative reporter. Please go over to the Blaze and follow him and follow that story. Glenn Beck is telling his story now. Anyway, let's get off of everything. I want to leave you with a spiritual thought. Okay? I want to go over to 1 Timothy chapter 3. He's talking about leadership of the church. A bishop must be the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, giving to hospitality, apt to teach, not giving to wine, nor a striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, nor covetous, one that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how should he take care of the church? Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. Okay? Here in chapter 3, Paul is talking about leadership of the church. Now, with that said, each of us must be like what Paul described the bishops of the church to be. Sober, family-loving, not giving to strong drink or filthy lucre, taking care of business, and paying attention to God. That's what a bishop and every one of us should be acting like. We should have respect for God. We should be doing those things that the Lord would have us do. When you see these ideas in the scriptures, manifest the scriptures as part of you, even putting your own names in the scripture. Some people would say that's blasphemous. It's not. Imagine yourself being addressed by the Apostle Paul. Let's be better people. Let's be better representatives of God, doing the things that God would have us do. Paying attention to God, family, and what's important in our lives. Okay? Let's do that. Let's be cognizant of what God would have us do, and we will be better servants in God's kingdom. Because that's what we're doing, that's where we are. God told us in the scriptures, if you're in the service of man, you're only in the service of your God. That's where we're at. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. We will be back tomorrow night, same place, same station. Please be with us. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. Please do know that I care about you. I care about all of you. Please tell your friends, your family, your neighbors about our channel, your extended family, the people you work with, and even the people you associate here with on social media. God be with you. Have a good night. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same station. Good night, everybody. Much love.